Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki Jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu. Like I always say, we have to thank Bhagavan nicely for this one more golden opportunity to be able to sing His name for 1 hour. And it is truly no small grace. Today, we see that there are quite a few temples for Bhagwan in different places in Tamil Nadu. And of course, in his place of birth. Places in Tamil Nadu. And of course, in his place of birth. There is an interesting story, interesting Leela of Bhagwan behind the coming up of the temple. And we will see how this Dhyana Mantap of Pudukottai came up. Shri Tiruvannamalai of Kovilpatti has written some interesting details about how it started. There would be so much opposition also. You could see that whenever we start a good work, there is bound to be some opposition as well. In fact, I remember in the beginning when this ashram started, and a huge structure came of its own accord. I tell you, there was absolutely no plan on Bhagwan's mind. And there was not much money at all in the bank. Everything happened one day, we could go through that. Everything happened one after the other. As Bhagwan always said, it is my father's ashram. Father would give. Father would arrange for all things. And Father also gave some troubles to some people because it's a Leela of the divine. After all, the whole Leela of the world drama is supposed to be meant for the delight of the divine. Just as we enjoy seeing a natak, seeing a drama on the stage, and in the drama, there might be fighting, there might be jealousy, there might be troubled people. But we enjoy watching that. Like this, our Divine Father keeps on arranging different dramas on the world stage at different times for His own delight. So when this ashram came up, there were quite a few people in Tiruvannamalai who were against it because they were all devotees of some Mahatma or the other. The Mahatmas, they have absolute oneness with each other. There is no difference at all among them. If you ask Raman Maharishi or Seshadri Swami or Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they would say we are all one. They are one divinity in different forms. But then in the beginning, some devotees began to give trouble, and there was a particular man, a foreigner, who could not tolerate the idea of an ashram coming up for another Mahatma other than his own. I believe he would be going round and round his ashram, our ashram, cursing it. And he would talk very mockingly about our ashram, saying that, oh, this is such huge place, who do they want to impress? I tell you, one day it will become a theatre. There will be all kinds of things going on. And then he would laugh. He would mock. And he was going round and round cursing. A few months passed, and after that he fell sick. And he had to leave not only Tiruvannamalai, but India as well, while the ashram flourished. Until today, Bhagwan is doing his divine work through this ashram. So these things happen, and slowly they drop off also because they don't have any spiritual strength, the troubles. They will not hold for long. Now we shall come back to this Pudukottai. Now before that, there was another interesting incident, that when Swami was wandering in the streets, roaming the streets of Tiruvannamalai, once I think he was standing there outside one of the shops. And suddenly this sannyasi came up. This man came up. He had one look at Bhagwan and he started to sing on. The song became very popular. It was 1972. Way back in 72, this man started to predict things, looking at Bhagwan, who was in rags, dirty rags. Nobody recognized him for what he was. This man sang, one day the whole world would worship your form. You would be like the crown, tilak. We put tilak, we put some mark on the forehead, indicative of the godliness. It's called a tilak. So this man said, one day you would shine like the tilak on the forehead of the God. This Tiruvannamalai, this Arunachaleshwara, is going to give you such a huge blessing. Thousands of devotees, thousands of higher officials, higher people from all walks of life would be crowding your place. So he sang and sang, and this song became very popular. At that time, nobody recognized Bhagwan. Nobody recognized the greatness his divinity. Now we shall come back to the scene of Tuticorin, that is Tuticorin. There was one Kailasam, Rama Kailasam, a journalist, a correspondent to one of the newspapers, Tamil newspapers. And he used to go around meeting people for interviews, all that. He was going with Shri Kamarad of Dhyana Mantap for some collection of funds also. So he came to know quite a few people that way. But apart from that, he had no idea what he was going to do, what was in store for him. In the Tuticorin areas, there were two different caste people. And in Kovilpatti, in Tuticorin district, there's a temple, and there would be some festival connected with the temple, and a chariot carrying the deity of the temple would go in procession in the streets of Kovilpatti. Now, one caste people have been doing a certain work, allotted the work of pulling the rope of the chariot. Another caste people were allotted the work of pushing the chariot from behind and stopping it with a wooden block when necessary. So they were allotted different duties, and if they had gone ahead with that, there would have been no clash at all. But as it always happens, soon there was a difference of opinion between the two groups, which resulted in clash. The clash became soon very violent. It happened between two groups in one place, but soon it started to spread everywhere. And wherever there were two people belonging to the two groups, there would be a clash immediately. There would be provocation from one group to the other, and then violence followed, inevitably. So this was going on for months, and perhaps years also it would have been there. Shri Tiruvannamalai says it was in 1997 when the festival took place, when they were pulling the chariot in the procession. This started, and then this spread so violently and widely everywhere. The entire Tuticorin district was shaken by this. Such violence, and continued ceaselessly. People were in trouble. Innocent people were put to trouble. They suffered mostly. And the administration would not come forward to control, to bring the situation under control. If they had taken some stern measures, this might have come under control sooner than later. But then it happened, Tiruvannamalai says, that they depended upon the vote bank. And so these politicians, and because of them, the district collectors, sub-collectors, the DIG of the place, they were all hesitant to come forward to bring the situation under control, with the result, this violence continued. Sporadic incidents here and there erupted, and this began to take a bigger scale. So at that time, Shri Kailasam visited Bhagwan. in Tiruvannamalai. Bhagwan also, he came to know about what was going on, the clashes between two groups, getting more and more violent by the day. And if anybody turned from Tuticorin or places nearby, Bhagwan would inquire elaborately. He must have been doing work also upon the situation. And when this correspondent of a newspaper presented himself before Bhagwan, Bhagwan asked him, he was a devotee of Bhagwan, so Bhagwan asked him about the situation there, the prevailing situation. Kailasam being a correspondent, a reporter, of course he knew more details, closer details of the situation. He described everything to Bhagwan. And he was expecting Bhagwan to give some measures to right the situation. But all that Bhagwan said, "Oh, don't worry. Everything will become all right soon. My father would see to it. Father's grace. Kailasam, you can go to Tuticorin." Kailasam was a little upset, disappointed. Anyway, he was also happy that Bhagwan had blessed them, saying that everything would be all right soon. But still, he was a little worried because the situation was very much alive and things were going on much against the peace of the place. But then Bhagwan had injected something into his frame that when he went back to Tuticorin, he felt he should go and see those collectors and the DIGs. He promptly visited them. And he gave each one of them a photograph of Bhagwan and said, "This Mahatma lives in Tiruvannamalai. He has given assurance," because those people were very worried. They could not bring the situation under control. At the same time, killings were taking place, and they did not know how to go about it effectively because there was also other influences upon the situation. So when they were really confused, Kailasam went there in time, gave Bhagwan's picture and assured them, this Mahatma, this divinity, has given assurance that the situation would soon come under control. And then he gave them the Nama also. He began to spread Bhagwan's Nama to all those affected people. He said, "You chant this name. People cannot do anything to you when you chant this name." So something entered like a Hanuman. He went about telling people that everything would be all right soon. Bhagwan had said so, and all they had to do is chant this name. But then what happened? Soon after this assurance from Kailas, from Bhagwan through Kailasam, something terrible happened. The peak of this violence. In one place in Tuticorin district, 40 country explosives were set to fire and they exploded, causing a severe damage to life and the place. It was unheard of until then. Now this was a great provocation to the administration, and this time assured by Bhagwan, and moved forward, and they began to exercise measures that brought the situation under control. They arrested 300 people and threw them into jail, and slowly the whole situation came under control. This is something we have to think of, because in the ancient books of tales, like see, where whenever there were Rakshasas, the demons, giving so much trouble, indulging in violence, giving trouble to all the devatas, they would rush immediately to Mahavishnu and appeal to him to do something about the situation. The Rakshasas must be brought under control, and they would appeal. And when you read these Puranas, the Puranic stories, the old stories, the ancient stories, you would see that after the appeal, after the assurance from Mahavishnu, something more terrible would follow, to the wonder of everybody. After getting an assurance from God, you would expect things to come under control immediately, but it wouldn't happen that way. The Rakshasas had earned their power by penance. They had also done penance. They had controlled their mind. They had chanted the divine name. In fact, they would do the hardcore tapas, which we cannot even think of. And they would do it for thousands of years and gather power. They would be blessed by the gods also. And with that blessing, they would start creating havoc everywhere. Something very similar happened after Bhagwan's assurance. This is what we see from the description of the detail, that after Bhagwan's assurance to all the administrators, something worse happened. These 40 explosives, 40 bombs, the country bombs, exploded in one place, causing so much damage. And that brought the administration into action. Immediately, 300 people were arrested, and then the situation slowly came under complete control. There was now law. The lawlessness was replaced by law, and the chaos replaced by order and discipline. So this time when Kailasam visited Bhagwan in Sannidhi Street House, he was very happy, and he announced it to Bhagwan. Bhagwan, just as you said, by your divine blessings, things have come under control, and now there is no lawlessness, no crimes anymore. People are more disciplined. Then Bhagwan was very happy, and then Bhagwan said something curious. He asked Kailasam, what do you think is the cause for these things? How can we control the situation permanently? What is the cause, the origin of all this? How can we avoid such situations in future? And Kailasam was naturally flabbergasted. He did not know what to say for a minute, and then slowly he said, Swami, it's all because of the youths of the day. They study high degrees and come out of their institutions, and they want to be employed. Sufficient employment is not available for them. With the result, they become restless, and they are swayed by the politicians, and now they become a very strong force in such matters because they are frustrated, they are depressed, they are frustrated, and some of them turn violent because of this. And then Bhagwan immediately asked, again in all innocence. Bhagwan knew everything. He gave one word, and soon after that the whole situation came under control, which was going on for quite some time, for years, and it came under control. So Bhagwan, but in all innocence, he asked, maybe it's a Leela, Kailasam, what can we do about this for this youth not to become violent? Is there a way out? Kailasam said, Swami, by your grace the situation has come under control now. Maybe if we build a Dhyana Mantap, a meditation hall, where these people could come and seek your blessings for their employment, for their making a living, a proper living. If they chant your name, the Dhyana Mantap, the meditation hall, your shrine there can spread peace and harmony. Then they would come under your influence, and that would avoid many such situations. Immediately Bhagavan smiled with his hand raised in benediction. He said, Kailasam, that's a good idea. And then he said, Kailasam will build this Dhyana Mandap. Kailasam will do this work. Now Kailasam was shocked. He did not expect Bhagavan to say that. He said, Bhagavan, I'm a poor man. I get a meager salary for my work. I'm a reporter. How can I build a meditation hall for you? It's a mammoth work. How can a poor man like me do this? No, Kailasam will do this work. And then Bhagavan asked him, Kailasam, where can we put up this meditation hall? Kailasam, suddenly it came to him, Pudukottai. So he said, Pudukottai. Then Bhagavan said, where is it? He said, it's 18 kilometers from Tuticorin. Oh, then Kailasam will build this meditation hall in Pudukottai. And Bhagavan blessed him nicely, but Kailasam was quite shaken. He had absolutely no idea how he was going to go about it. He had only Bhagavan's word of assurance. He did not know that was much more than enough. So with a little apprehension, he went there. And again now, see what happened when this violence, when these situations was getting worse. Because of all this, 2 collectors were transferred, and a 3rd collector had come over there. And this 3rd collector was a Muslim who was posted in Tiruvannamalai before coming to Tuticorin. He was a revenue officer in Tiruvannamalai. He was very impressed with Bhagavan when he was in Tiruvannamalai, that he would often go to have darshan of Bhagavan. Even though he was a Muslim, he was drawn to the divinity of Bhagavan. He would often go there. And not only that, he would take all the IAS officers, IPS, police officials who came to Tiruvannamalai. He would take them also to Bhagavan for darshan. And it happened one day, this friend, this revenue officer, he gathered enough courage, and then he showed his palm to Bhagavan and asked him, Swami, here is my hand, my palm. Can you tell me my future? Bhagavan smiled and said, my friend, this beggar is not a Joshya. This beggar is not an astrologer. This beggar is doing Father's work. This beggar is a dirty beggar. This beggar cannot predict things for you. And then added with a smile, but this beggar can tell you one thing. You have a bright future. My father's grace. And soon after that, this Muslim friend, this Muslim devotee, got this collector's post in Tuticorin. So he had come there, just see, when Bhagwan was blessing Kailasam for this meditation hall in Pudukottai, a new collector had taken up the position there in the district, and he was already a devotee of Bhagwan. How things get arranged, how the divine arranges things. When Kailasam, so apprehensive about the situation, so he approached the new collector. He told him everything, that this is what Bhagwan said. Then the Muslim collector was happy. Being a devotee, he knew whatever Bhagwan said would come true, and that would help the situation there in Tuticorin, in the whole district. Peace and law and order would be maintained. So he began to inquire about the lands outside Tuticorin. He asked Kailasam to get details of all these places. And then he asked Kailasam to go and inspect those lands and choose one for Swami. And of course, when Kailasam came to this particular place now where the meditation hall, the temple for Bhagwan, is erected, when he came to this place, there were 2 or 3 feet high grass and bushes, and snakes were occupying the place. They were living there. But somehow, by Bhagwan's grace, it struck Kailasam, this would be the place. So government connected. So the collector had to say this. The collector said, it cannot be given to you freely, but there will be an annual fee that you have to pay, a rent for 1 year. Every year you have to pay some annual fee for that, and you can build this. Kailasam was very, very happy. Now he knew that things were all coming together by Bhagwan's grace. So when they started to clear the space, they found that there were ant hills, quite big, big ones. And I believe the snake charmer who would collect the snakes, who would catch the snakes in that area in Tuticorin, would bring those snakes only to these ant hills. So it was quite a place for the snakes, the grass there. And today there's a beautiful mandap there, a beautiful structure, and there's a beautiful murti of Bhagwan. This murti was brought, all this happened towards the end, that when Bhagwan became sick, and he was in Parnashala at that time, and that was when these talks came up, and in 98, the first conversation took place about this Pudukottai Dhyana Mantapam, and the murti came to the ashram before it went there. It was kept there near our Adhishtanam, the Samadhi place, Samadhi Mandir. It's a very beautiful murti. Bhagwan looks younger in this murti. And that's a beautiful smile on his face. And we see Shri Tirumalai Nambi, who is in charge there, writing so beautifully about Bhagwan, putting such charming, bewitching photos of Bhagwan. Some people show me that so beautifully dressed Murti of Bhagwan and such beautiful writings from Shri Tirumalai Nambi. Now this Murti was here for months, and charmed by this Murti, lured by this Murti, I used to go and sit there and do my meditation. It became my favorite place. And today this Murti is there in Pudukottai, 18 kilometers from Tuticorin. Bhagwan is doing a lot of Leelas there, Leelas of grace, to the delight of the devotees there. Now that Bhagwan who arranged all this. I remember when we were in Sudama, Bhagwan used to make me read a book by P.V. Ravindran on Ganeshpuri Swami Nityananda. He attained Samadhi. Ganeshpuri Nityananda Swami attained Maha Samadhi in 1963, I think, 62, 63, or perhaps 1961. He was also very unpredictable. You would never know what he would say next, what he would do next, just like our Bhagwan, an Avadhoot. And this book was a very delightful book. I used to read it several times. After finishing once, Bhagwan would say, Devaki, start again. Many, many miracles that he did. And Bhagwan once even hinted that many of those miracles were similar to what he had done. Bhagwan would never admit to any miracle. Somehow we were caught in a conversation, and in an unguarded moment, Bhagwan admitted that he had done all that. We would come to it some other time. But then, why I said, before I started to read, his instruction was, I should start from the last chapter. I always had to start the last chapter. After finishing the last chapter, I should start from the beginning. And the last chapter was full of temples all over the world for Bhagwan Nityananda of Ganeshpuri. And then Bhagwan said to me, Devaki, for this beggar also, there will be temples all over the world. And then he would smile. And today, we see so many temples in Tamil Nadu, and more are yet to come. In course of time, one would be able to see all that. Now this reminds me of a particular story I came across. Tirumalai also has mentioned that. That is, once Swami Vivekananda, he knew what a great Murti Ramakrishna Bhagwan is. So in his time, he wanted to build a temple for Shri Ramakrishna. But Ramakrishna himself did not show up much. He behaved to the world. He presented the picture of an ordinary pujari of the temple. Many people did not know about him. So when he went around, Vivekananda was trying to find 1 cent of land to build something for Ramakrishna. People would not give him money. Vivekananda at one point got wild. He came to Ramakrishna and said, see Thakur, people don't understand what you are, who you are. 1 cent land. They are not giving money. He complained bitterly. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa smiled and said, Naren, why are you getting angry? You want to build a temple now in your own time, in your time? Don't worry. There will be many, many temples coming up for me all over the world. So do not worry that it's not coming up now. There is a time for it. There will be many, many temples for me all over the world. We see Bhagwan Nityananda of Ganeshpuri saying this, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Bhagwan saying this, now Yogi Ramsuratkumar Bhagwan also has said that. And we see it coming true now. Now this Bhagwan is here right in front of us with his hand raised in a gesture of blessing. And there's a constant flow of grace, blessings. We shall submit our today's prayers at his feet. Bhagwan, there is nothing that you do not know.